The young couple departed much later than they'd expected from their cousin's house. They were still miles from home when dusk fell over the narrow, windy road they traveled. The horses were tired, the night was chilly, and there was no inn anywhere in sight. The husband clicked his tongue thoughtfully, a sure sign he was getting worried. His young wife laid a hand on his arm and suggested they seek out a house and ask for shelter for the night. Her husband considered this proposal for a moment, then smiled and acquiesced. As they traveled the long, bumpy road that led from Massachusetts to New York, they started to watch for a house. It was the husband who spied a light through the trees just when his wife had resigned herself to a cold night spent in the parked carriage. He turned their horse onto a narrow dirt road leading up a hill. A pleasant house stood at the crest. The light was shining cheerfully from the windows, illuminating a pretty, well-kept yard. Their carriage was spotted as they drove up the hill, and an old man and his wife met the couple at the door. The old folks were in night clothes and had obviously been about to go to bed, but their welcome was warm. The elderly couple introduced themselves as Mr. and Mrs. Brown. The old wife took the young woman by the arm, tutting briskly over her cold hand. "You'll catch your death out in this cold, damp air," Mrs. Brown exclaimed. "Papa, throw some more wood on the fire." She whisked the young folks inside the cozy home and settled them into comfortable chairs close to the fireplace before the young husband could explain the reason for their visit. The old man built the fire. The young man asked if they might rent a room for the night, since there was no inn nearby and they were still many miles from home. "Rent? Don't be ridiculous," exclaimed Mrs. Brown. "You must be our guests." She ignored the young couple's protests and bustled out of the room to get them some hot food. Feeling overwhelmed by such kindness, the young man and his pretty wife supped at the good meat and cakes placed before them and chatted merrily with their host and his wife. After the impromptu dinner, Old Man Brown and his wife escorted the weary couple to their room. As they parted for the night, the young husband once again volunteered to pay for their lodgings. Mrs. Brown stiffened and shook her head reproachfully at the young man, and her husband said, "Nay, lad, 'tis but a small service we offer you. Keep your money and buy something pretty for your young lady." The travelers woke early and tiptoed out of the cozy house. The young husband hesitated a moment and then left a shiny 50-cent coin in the corner of the kitchen table. Then he hitched up their horses and they went on their way. After several miles, they came to Spiegeltown in New York. Spotting an inn, they went inside to purchase breakfast. The innkeeper was a jolly fellow who came over to talk to them as they ate. When the husband mentioned the nice old couple who'd given them lodging the previous night, The innkeeper turned pale. "Where did you say that house was?" the innkeeper asked. The husband described the location in detail. "You must be mistaken," said the innkeeper. "I know that place. That house was destroyed 3 years ago in a fire that killed the entire Brown family." "I don't believe it," the husband said flatly. "Mr. and Mrs. Brown were alive and well last night." After debating the matter for a few minutes, the couple and the innkeeper drove their carriage back out of town toward the old Brown place. The ground was quickly covered in bright sunshine. The wife soon recognized the place where they had turned off the main road the night before. To her surprise, the narrow lane was overgrown with weeds, and dead branches crackled under the carriage wheels as they turned into it. She glanced uneasily at her husband and saw that he was equally disturbed. The tracks had not looked like this when they left earlier this morning. The carriage climbed the hill to the crest, and as they entered the yard, they saw a burned-out shell of a house that has obviously not sheltered anyone for a long time. "This cannot be right," the wife exclaimed, climbing down out of the carriage, walking toward the blackened ruin. "This is the Brown place," the innkeeper said. "This was not where we stayed last evening," the husband insisted, slipping from the driver's seat to join the innkeeper on the ground. "I must have mistaken the direction." And then the wife gave a terrified scream and swayed. Her husband leapt forward, caught her in his arms as she crumbled to the ground in a dead faint. Searching for the cause of her fright, the husband looked into the ruins and saw a burnt table with a shiny 50-cent piece lying in the center, just where he had left it. We don't believe in ghosts, so when the fellow checking us into the hotel warned us our room on the 6th floor was haunted, we just laughed. There were a lot of crazy people out there who believed in ghosts and wanted to stay in a haunted hotel, but Marie and I were not two of them. I'd chosen the Mitzpah for our weekend getaway because I liked the description of the hotel and its amenities, not because it had a phantom. Just for kicks, Marie asked the fellow who it was that supposedly haunted our room. He told us it was the ghost called the Lady in Red, a prostitute who was strangled by a jealous boyfriend. Her tormented spirit still lingered in the hotel, and she was said to follow guests around to play games with the gambling equipment in the casino. "A gambling ghost," I laughed. The boy glared at me, and I felt sorry for making a joke about something he obviously believed in. We said a hasty goodnight and headed up to the 6th floor. After unpacking our bags, we went down to the casino to play a few games. A wave cheerfully to the young man at the desk, and I reported that we'd seen no ghosts, a comment he did not deign to acknowledge. Marie and I had a wonderful time playing the slot machines. We grabbed some dinner, then headed to the casino for a little more gambling before we turned in. I actually won $50, which amazed my pretty wife, who had never won anything in her life. Feeling full and happy, we quit the casino and walked arm in arm to the elevator. "Do you think we'll see the lady in red?" I asked Marie as we entered the elevator. She pressed the button and then turned to give me a sarcastic smile. "Of course, she'll waltz right through the wall, right before our eyes," Marie said. I laughed and gave her a kiss. The elevator door opened too soon, and reluctantly I released my wife and escorted her down the hallway. Before our eyes, the glowing figure of a woman came hurrying toward us. I shivered surreptitiously, my skin prickling in the sudden cold as the lady in red rushed past us and walked right through the wall next to our room. "Good Lord, there really is a ghost in our room," I gasped. Beside me, Mary gave a tiny cry of sheer terror and started shaking like a leaf. I put both my arms around her, my eyes still glued to the wall where the ghost had vanished. "I'm not going into that room," Marie cried against my chest. "No way." Her face was pale, and her black eyes wide with fear. I didn't feel much like going in there either, but we had gotten a special deal for 2 nights and paid in advance. In the end, Marie stayed out in the hallway while I went to investigate the room. I wrenched open the door, turned on the light, and searched every corner for the lady in red. She was gone. Even with my repeated reassurances, Marie refused to set foot in the haunted room. In the end, I had to go down to the desk and request a room on a different floor. The boy didn't say much when I told him we had indeed seen the lady in red, but he gave me a know-it-all smirk that made me want to smack him as he assigned us a room on the ground floor. Marie barely got a wink of sleep that night. She kept waking up, afraid the lady in red would come walking through the wall and do terrible things to us. We were up at dawn and checked out of the mitzvah by breakfast. So much for our romantic weekend away. From that day on, Marie made sure she was the one who booked our hotels.